Hi friends! Welcome back to my channel. My name is Des and today I'm going to do a little 2025 Techo Kaigi for you. So I generally like to wait a couple of months before doing my Techo Kaigi for you so that I can kind of get into the books and see how I'm actually using them. And then I have some actual pages to show you as well. That way you can see how I'm actually using things. So I have 6 planners and notebooks here to show you. These are the ones that I use on mostly a day-to-day basis. Some of them are not ones that I use daily, like these 3 over here, and kind of just dip into them when I feel like it or when I need to. And then these 3 over here are ones that I use or try to use mostly daily. So we're going to start with these ones over here. And we're actually going to go to this A6 size first. So this cute cover here houses my A6 Hobonichi Hone. This is the 2025 Liberty Fabrics cover in the hardcover Hone edition. I haven't shown you guys this cover on here yet. I used to keep different notebooks in it, but I realized that I really wanted to have my stickers and things readily available to use in this planner, and I like to be able to have a pen and a fountain pen as well, and some stickers too. So in the back of the cover here, I've got the Sticky Club stickers that I'm currently using. And then I have little icon stickers and stuff in here too. And some sticky notes as well. And then yeah, in the front I have more icon stickers, kind of like sticky notes or memo cards. And yeah, lots of stickers in here. So this book is what I call my daily log, and essentially I use it to keep track of what happens in my day-to-day life. So this first spread here I'm using to keep track of kind of my YouTube stats and when I post videos. The reason everything is crossed out is because I thought this was January and it's December. So I wrote down all my January videos over here and I had to cross them all out and move them over to here. Same with these, I put my February videos on here and had to move them over to here. But yeah, so that's just kind of a good overview for me. And so originally I was using this calendar for content planning, but it just felt really small. And I didn't really feel like I had enough room to do the things I wanted to do in here. So I'm changing this and I will show you where I'm doing my content planning now in a minute. But yeah, February is where I started to notice like this wasn't working very well for me. And I decided that I am going to move towards this being for like actual planning. So appointments, trips, birthdays, those kinds of things. And normally I don't keep a calendar like that because I mostly tend to reference like Google Calendar for things, but I actually find it helpful to be able to write those things out and see what's happening on one page instead of like scrolling through my calendar on my phone. And the other thing I want to do is start writing down my workouts as well. I really want to get better with having like a nice movement routine, so I'm going to keep track of that stuff as well. And let me flip to this next page, but I'm going to cover something up first. Just for privacy reasons, I'm covering up a trip that we're going on soon. But yeah, I've got some little stickers here to denote birthdays. And then in pencil, I've written a couple of things down that might be happening, things that I'm not super sure. So I have like some library books due this day, but they also get auto-renewed, so I might not have to return them yet. But yeah, so I'm also going to keep track of my workouts, like I said, and yesterday I actually did a workout. Today is Sunday the 2nd. I just got a jump rope and it's something I want to try doing as part of my movement. It's kind of something fun to do. And I did a 25-minute jump rope session last night. And then I haven't used this Turning the Page to New Year spread. I've seen lots of cute ideas, but I tend to not really use this. But for the monthly and daily pages in here, this left-hand side, I'm kind of using as a planner. So I have a little sticky note here with my YouTube video ideas for the month, and then a to-do list on this bigger sticky note that I can kind of reference day to day. And then on the daily pages, I use this top section as a to-do list. I will also write down if I have events going on that day up here. And then why I call this a daily log journal is because I just write things that happen during the day. So I have like some symbols for different things. This dash is just for like general things that happened. A heart is for like a fun memory or something. I have this tiny little like food sticker that I use to write down like if we had a certain dinner or something. And this is a Coffee Monster Co. tiny little icon sticker, and I really want to get more of these. I just picked up this one sheet at Stationery Fest because it's what was left by the time that I got to her booth, but yeah, I really want to get some more of those. And I developed more icons as the year's gone on, so I've marked off a couple of more pages to show you. So this is February's little monthly spread and the first day of the month here. So yeah, video ideas and to-do list. Yeah, so same idea. I had one of those icon stickers that I showed you in the back to write down when I spent some money. So I had to run some errands. And then, yeah, I have like a little book icon that I've drawn to denote like when I've started or finished a new book, or maybe if I've gotten an arc or something. And then here's another spread. I really like this one. I used one of these like little memo sheets. These are from Sticky Club to write down, again, some things that I purchased that day. Like I wrote down where I went, how much it cost, and the things that I got. I think it's fun if I don't have too much going on during the day. Like this day I didn't have too much happening, so I did some like stickers and washi tape, and then I used my fountain pen to just write something, like some cute lettering of something that happened. And then I have one more spread. So here's another one, kind of the same idea. I didn't have too much to write, so I put some stickers, and then I wrote D&D because we played Dungeons and Dragons this night. Yeah, so that's kind of how I use the daily pages. For the back pages, I don't have anything on these note pages yet. Actually, I do, actually. I have an ink log in here on this first note page. So this is just what fountain pens I have inked currently, so that I can reference what's in each pen. And then I haven't used this favorites for anything. I'm thinking I might put like TV shows and movies and stuff that we watch in here because there's a lot. The My 100 in here, I've decided to use at least partly to write down different meals that we've had during the year. I think that this could be fun if like I need ideas for dinners to make, that I can look back on this and get some inspiration. That's the hope anyways. But also to see like maybe some new things that we tried. And then I wrote down birds ? Here because I was thinking about using this second side over here to write down like maybe new bird species that I've seen this year. I really want to try birding, and yeah, so once the weather warms up, I might start writing some birds down on here if I get into that. And then for the 365 days checkoff sheet, I am using this to mark down my moods. I use an app called Dailyo to track like my moods and things that happened each day. I haven't been the best about it so far this year. I've kind of fallen off of it a little bit, but I'm trying to get back into it. And so like once in a while, I'll just sit down here and I'll look through my Dailyo app and I will color the days. depending on what my app says my average mood for the day was. Yeah, and I think that's it. I just have scribbles basically in the back. And then this was sort of my key for how I want to denote things that happened each day. So yeah, that's my daily log journal, and this is definitely the one that I use the most. I use this every day, or at least I try my best to. I try not to get like more than a day or two behind in this because I really want all of my memories to be captured in here. The next one I'll show you is my A5. So this is the Hobonichi A5 hone, so it's also the hardcover. This is like, I think it's called Rainbow, and I just think it's so fun. And yeah, this side is decorated really cute. It has like washi tape and stickers and PET tapes and all sorts of stuff happening. And we did this deco in a video recently, so I'll link that for you in case you want to watch and see how I decorate things. But yeah, I keep some stickers and stuff in here as well, in these little Hobonichi folders. For this spread, I have not totally decided how I want to use this, but my thought is that I'm gonna write things down in here that I want to reference in the future, because I kind of use this as an everything kind of place. Like, it's partially a journal, but also I can commonplace and write lists and notes and stuff in here. So I've written that I have my 2025 bingo board on January 24th. I recently did a video on that as well, if you would like to watch that and see what's on my bingo board for the year. I also have a Copic wish list on February 23rd. A bunch of my Copics are running low on ink, so I need to get some refills for them. And my original idea for the monthly calendars was kind of a gratitude journal, and I didn't really care for it. So I copied over the content planning stuff from my A6 into here to kind of see how I liked it, and it's way better. This is working so much better for me. There's still some things in pencil on here that I need to do from the last few days. But yeah, I keep track of the YouTube videos I'm doing, Reels and Instagram things, Substack things, arcs that I need to read and review, things like that. And so there's some like color coding going on here, and I find this super helpful. But yeah, so for March, I've kind of written out in pencil generally what I'm going to do on each day. Since, you know, I have to move things around a little bit sometimes, I don't want to write them in pen until they've happened. But writing things in pencil like this has kind of given me a good idea of what's coming up. So typically, like, I film on Sundays, edit on Mondays, and post on Thursdays, so that gives me a few days to kind of edit and get things put together. And then yeah, I've kind of written in a little bit of stuff. This is like my video ideas for the month up here. And yeah, so that's kind of how I'm using the monthly. As for the weeklies, this is this week's spread. I'm on like a separate note, I'm a little bit sad because this is a fine nibbed Lamy Safari with Wearing Gold Lost in it. And I knew it was kind of like a wet writer, but I didn't realize so much so. But this is the first problem I've had with like bleeding and feathering in my Hobonichis. And I know the paper is super inconsistent this year for a lot of people. So also noticed some inconsistencies throughout like the same book. So like sometimes like if this paper doesn't work, some of the daily pages, it works fine. So it's very confusing and a little bit unfortunate, but yeah, we're making it work. I'm not too precious with these things, so I don't mind that there's a little bit of bleeding and ghosting and stuff. But yeah, so my weekly spreads, I keep some lists over here. I have a to-do list that's like general life things. Then I have a content list for things I need to get done for like YouTube and Instagram this week. And then a meals list. So these are like, you know, we bought groceries for these meals, and that kind of just helps me plan our meals for the week. And then with my fountain pen for the week, whatever color I've chosen for the week, I write in what's happening during the week, so that it's like easy to see my events and stuff. So like we had Dungeons and Dragons on Monday, knit night on Wednesdays, Sticky Club renewal, I had library books due, that sort of thing. And then with my pen, I make a little to-do list for each day just at the top here. And then at the bottom down here, I typically write what we had for dinner each day. I'm not super sure why I haven't written anything in here for this week, but typically I write what we ate for dinner each day down here. And this is today, and I am currently filming, so I'm gonna cross that off. But yeah, at the beginning of the week, I will sit down and I will fill this out, and then I will take my A6 daily log and I will go through each day and write down the things that I'd like to get done that day. So yeah, for the sort of monthly overview page, I keep track of my hobbies spending. Yeah, like if I buy yarn or stickers or whatever, I like to write that down here. I also like to write down when I add or remove things from my wardrobe. I think in January I actually bought a sweater. So I have not been the best with keeping up with this journal, so yeah, you'll see. I will show you. Marked off a couple of pages that we can look at that don't have like too much personal information going on. So yeah, this is sort of how I've been using these spreads. At the top, I've been writing down my forest focus goals. I don't know if you've heard of that app, Forest. It's like kind of like a Pomodoro timer sort of, and you grow trees by not using your phone. And they have a new thing where there's like a focus challenge every once in a while where you try to complete as many of these tasks as you can. There's 3 every day. And if you hit a certain point, you get like a free plant or a free tree. And I love that. So I like to write down my things for the day, especially because once you start the app, like once you start it going on your timer, you can't look at these. So sometimes it's very specific, like you need to plant this tree for 25 minutes. And then if I don't remember that, I don't know how long I need to make sure that that plant grows for. So yeah, I like to write those down in here. I was really, really into the Pokemon trading card game, the Pocket phone version. I haven't been really playing it very much anymore, but for a while there I was writing down all of the new Pokemon I would get every day. And then I like to just check into my journal and I'll write what time I checked in. I will do a little bit of journaling. And again, checked in here at 10:30, did a little bit of journaling. This day, I think I went to Michael's and I got a few new mild liners, so I wrote those down here. And I finished reading this graphic novel called Crumble, and so I did a little review here. But yeah, there's like a lot of blank pages in here, and there's a lot where like I'll start a page and then never finish it. So it's a little bit unfortunate, but I'm still trying to figure out how this works best for me. So I'm just gonna keep trying, and I'll have to update you in a few months in another Techo Kaigi video probably. But yeah, this is, I think, my ideal use for this journal. So again, forest focus at the top. So writing down my forest goals for the day. And then in this section right here, it's like the perfect size to write down Helen's prompt for the day. Helen of Coffee Monsters Co. does monthly prompt lists. So I'll write down the prompt for the day and then give my little answer here. And then I can use the rest of the page to kind of write whatever I want. So I did some journaling here. If I didn't write down a time, that usually means I backfilled. So I probably wrote this the next day about what I had done the previous day. I was really busy this day specifically, so I think I backfilled this. And then I've been reading some books on like writing and creativity. And so I wrote a quote down here from The Right to Write by Julia Cameron. And I feel like it also applied very well to journaling. It says, "Writing is about getting something down, not about thinking something up. Once writing becomes an act of listening instead of an act of speech, a great deal of the ego goes out of it. And I thought that was like a really good reminder, both for writing in like a creative sense, but also in like a journaling sense. So yeah, that's kind of how I'm using the daily pages right now. Sometimes I just get in there and I just scribble a bunch of stuff and that's how it goes sometimes. So like here I made a wish list for some washi tapes that I want, and I wrote down my fountain pen for the day or for the week, mostly because I wanted to see if it was bleeding, and it wasn't as bad on here. So yeah, very interesting. We are now in March, and so I like to put one of these on the month and one of these on the day. And then for the back of this journal, again, I have an ink log in here. And I've done it on this first page so I can see like bleed through here. Yeah, that Lamy did not bleed through on this page, so very interesting. I think it also might have to do like when I haven't written with a pen in a while and I pull it out and I first start writing with it, it writes like super wet at first. So that might have something to do with it, but yeah, not sure what to use this favorites page for yet. I might not use it at all. The My 100 here, I'm also not sure what to use this for. I've written fountain pen inks question mark here because in the past I've written down like different inks that I've used during the year, but it's kind of like my ink log, so it's not super interesting. Yeah, I'm not super sure what to use this for. If you have ideas of what to use the My 100 for, definitely let me know. And then my 365-day checkoff sheet in here I'm using to fill in what days I journal. So journaling to me means I just wrote at least a little bit about how I'm feeling or what happened during the day. So if I only like did a commonplace thing on a certain day, I'm not counting that as journaling. And I'm also scratching off the day that I journaled with whatever pen it was that I used to journal with. So that's kind of fun to see what color I was using. But yeah, this is supposed to be like incentive to journal so that I can scribble these off. Also, I used to find this spread really hard to use because of the numbers, and I was like, if I don't journal for 10 days, I don't know what number I'm on. But something that I learned is that at the top of each page, right here under this little moon icon, actually tells you what number the day is. So like June 21st is number 172 for the year. So that actually is very helpful for filling out this spread. So just a heads up in case you also didn't know that. But yeah, so that is kind of what this journal is for. In the back, I have some PET tape strips and then this little sticker release book that just has like washi tape and PET tape bits in it. And I love that. It's very handy. So yeah, that's what I'm using my A5 for. It's kind of like a daily journal. Next is my Hobonichi Weeks. This is the Through the Purple Night cover, and this is my reading and hobbies and media journal. So this has kind of like a sci-fi fantasy theme, and I thought that was perfect because those are like some of my favorite genres to read. So that's why I picked that cover. And I recently did a hobby journal setup video, and I can link that for you as well, where we did set up a bunch of pages in here. So this page, I have not decided how to use this. I'm thinking maybe just like some reading stats, but these boxes are just so small, they're not terribly useful for me. So this is how I'm using the calendar spread. I've written what arcs I have this month to read. I haven't updated this for the last week. So I actually did finish both of those arcs that I needed to read this week. And then down here, I have written what I'm reading. So I've actually finished some of these as well. And I've numbered them so that it's easier to write down what book it is that I'm referencing up here. I'm still kind of figuring this out. If you watch that previous video, you'll see a little bit more of my thought process, but The idea is that I want to write down when I start and finish books in the calendar spread, but it's hard because these boxes are so small. So instead of like how I have it here, I wrote finished Spy X Family Volume 6, and that takes up the entire box. So if I start and finish a book in the same day, it makes it really difficult. So I'm going to start numbering them instead, and so I can just write finished like 2. And so I can still see like if I started 2 here and finished 2 here, it's still easy to see that it was the same book, and then I can just reference this list down here to see which book it was. I also have written here, this was the day that both of those arcs were being published, and so I wanted to remember that. And then over here on the right-hand side, I have my library books. These are the physical books that I've got from the library. I got these all on the same day, so I wrote down that they were all due on 2/27, but I returned one book because I finished it, and then all the other ones have been renewed. So I have these for a little bit longer, and so I'm gonna just like draw an arrow through this because I have these until like mid-March, so I don't have to worry about them. And yeah, okay, so now I can show you the weekly pages. I've marked probably my favorite page so far. I don't really do any decoration in here, but yeah, let me talk you through what I do in each section. So here on the left-hand side, I use to write basically what media I engaged with, what I read, like started or finished, and maybe if I was knitting something, that would go over here, things like that. I'm still kind of playing with it, the structure of that, but basically whatever hobbies I did, I'm writing down over here. And I'm, again, kind of using symbols and still figuring it out, but this little like play icon means that this is what we watched that day. So if we're watching like a show or movies or whatever, I write that down here. And then like here, I finished reading Crumble, that graphic novel. And so I used this little stencil here, also from Hobonichi, to draw a little line from that over to here. And over here, I've written a little review for that graphic novel. And the idea is that like this space in between these two things here, I can use to write reviews and stuff for like movies, books, whatever I'm engaging with, maybe new albums that come out, things like that. But at the top here, since this is like mostly a reading journal, it's kind of like what I'm the most interested in tracking. I write down each book that I'm reading this week, and I write what percentage I started at the beginning of the week and what percentage I ended at. So like I was listening to The Golden Compass, and at the beginning of this week I was at 66%, and by the end of the week I was at 80%. Restaurant at the End of the Universe, I was at 69%, and then I finished it. So I wrote 100% and crossed it off like that. Same with Crumble. So yeah, that's how I use that kind of to get an easy glance at what I was reading that week. And then down here at the bottom, this is kind of something I'm playing with right now. This is a tracker. So I've got, the days of the week at the top here. And then on the left, these are shorthand for the books I'm reading. So like GC is Golden Compass. And then each day I write how much of it I read that day. So Golden Compass was actually an audiobook. So I listened to 53 minutes on this Monday here. And I think this is actually really nice to see how much I'm reading each day. Then at the end of the week, I tally it up and see how much I read that week in that specific book. So like Golden Compass, I listened to 1 hour and 29 minutes that week. And then Restaurant at the End of the Universe, I read 76 pages. And I put a little check mark here because that's the day that I finished it. And then I took all of that information and added it all up to see that I read 149 pages that week and listened to 1 hour and 29 minutes of audio. This also kind of helps me fill out something that is in the back of my book, which actually I can show you really quick. So I'm using this to fill up the 365-day checkoff sheet. So my idea for the 365-day checkoff sheet is that I am marking the day by what type of book I'm reading that day. And if I'm reading multiple, because usually I'll have an audio book and then like a physical or an ebook going at the same time, I'm just marking the day by which one I read the most of. I haven't done this in a while. I need to go back and fill this in. But like at the beginning of the month, I was reading an ebook. I was reading a lot of ebooks actually and listening to audiobooks. So this shows me what I was reading the most of that day. So I find that really interesting. And then while we're back here, I'll show you the My 100. This one's pretty simple. I'm just writing down what books I've read here. And in previous years, I've had to go on to this right-hand side. And then some years I don't even use this whole left-hand side. So it just depends how many books I read in a year. I'm reading pretty fast this year, so it's possible that I could have to use this second side. But my idea originally was to put books I've read on the left-hand side and then movies and TV shows that I've watched on the right-hand side. But I'm thinking about printing off an extra of this spread and gluing it in like over one of these other pages that I'm not using, because Hobonichi has like a downloads page and they have this My 100 and I think also the 365-day checkoff sheets for each book size that you can print off for yourself. So I'm thinking about printing an extra one of these and doing movies and TV shows on it. And then the favorites I'm using to write down my favorite book of each month. I haven't done February yet because it just ended and I haven't used this book in a few days. But yes, I have January through December here, and then I have 2 extra spots here at the bottom. Maybe I will use this to pick my top 2 books of the year. So that's what I'm using that for. And then the only other thing is my notes pages. And I'm not going to go like super in detail here because we did write all of these. We made all of these spreads in my hobby journal setup video. So if you'd like to see how we did this, go check that video out. But yeah, I have a book log, physical TBR, ebook TBR, audiobook TBR, ARCs TBR, 25 for 2025, and new releases. And then lots more pages in here to use for whatever I feel like. Yeah, that's it for my hobbies journal. The next book I'm going to show you is my Hobonichi 5-year journal. This is the A6 size. And I have the 2023 through 2027 book. And I'm going to be so honest with you that I was terrible at using this in 2023 and 2024. So I have lots of blank pages and very few pages where I have multiple years written on it. So that's been unfortunate, and this is always a goal of mine every year to start using this again. And yeah, it doesn't always go great. But again, I'm gonna try again this year. So this is the first page I filled in here this year, I believe. So the way that I do this is either at the top of the box or to the left of the box. I'm still playing with it a little bit. I like to write the day of the week because I find that really helpful to know when I'm looking back on things. And then I've written like the weather and the high and low temperature. And then I just write a little bit about my day. And if I need a little bit more room, I go onto the right-hand side over here. And I use the same color for the whole year so that it's easy to differentiate. Like for 2023, I used red, 2024, I used purple, so that if I'm writing on this right-hand side, it's easy to tell what year it was from. But yeah, this is why I like keeping such a detailed daily log, because it makes backfilling this super easy. So my ideal use for this, I think, obviously would be to use it every day, but that's not always super realistic. But I think my more realistic ideal way of using this is every few days or at least once a week. I can come in here and look at my daily log and write down the most important things that happened that day. But yeah, that's kind of how I'm using it right now. This is one from last year that I did. This is the purple, and so this is what I meant, like sometimes I'll just write like the day of the week at the top and then the high and low temperature next to it. But then at the back there are these pages, there's one for each year. And so I've written what fountain pen ink I'm using for that year. So like I said, 2023 is red. That's Ferris Wheel Press Royal Rhubarb. Last year was Diamine Memory Lane, which is a purple shimmer ink. And then this year is green, and it is Dominant Industry Seaweed. Yeah, there's not really anything else in this book, but yeah, I'm trying to keep up with this again this year. So yeah, it's a goal of mine. Next is my commonplace book. I also have a setup video for this. Definitely check it out. It was really fun to put all of these spreads together in that video. This is the Hobonichi A6 notebook from 2025. This is called Denali in the Midnight Sun, and I just think it's so pretty. But yeah, this is my little commonplace book. So started in January of this year. I have the key here. This is my third commonplace book. And then I leave that first little spread blank. I've left a little bit blank here so I can do a index if I feel like it later. But yeah, so I add things in here that I want to be able to reference in the future. So here on the left is my 25 for 2025, so the books that I want to read this year. My ARC TBR, a key for a bookworm that I'm knitting this year, and then some video ideas. I haven't used this very much since we filled it out in that setup video, but yeah, I will keep you updated when I add more stuff to this later. And then the last book that I use, this one I haven't really shown on here before. I don't think I've ever shown this on here, and that's because it's not really like a main part of my lineup, but I figured I'd show it because I've been using it a little bit more recently. This is a regular A6 Techo, and I think it's a 2024 version. Yeah, it's a 2024, and I kind of had it laying around. I think I might have gotten it on a really good sale at the end of last year, and so this has kind of become like a creative journal, kind of like a junk journal, collage journal, art journal, that sort of thing. So I'm not really using it in order. I'm kind of just doing whatever I want here. But the idea is that on these pages, I will write down like what I did on the daily page. So here I've written 26 Feb 2025 because on this day I did the collage that's on that page, if that makes sense. Like, this is a 2024 planner, but I plan to use it for years. So on the 26th of February, I did a like junk journal spread in here. So I put it on the spread for, it might have been the 24th, 25th of February in here. So I did it like close to the date that I actually did it on. And then in July of last year, I was taking notes on like some art things, putting together like a little sketching kit. So I wrote those things down in case I want to reference them later. And I'm not using the calendar for anything. I can show you some of the pages in here. This is just fruit stickers from like this month pretty much. And I will just continue putting fruit stickers on this whole spread this year, I think. And then here is that junk journal spread that I mentioned earlier. So I did this on the 26th of February this year, so I did it like near the same dates in here. Yeah, and I kind of just want to do like a yellow and green junk journal spread with some things that I've collected. So yeah, this was really, really fun to do. I really like doing these things. Here's some like art notes that I had in here, sketching kit that I mentioned, just like color palettes, scribbles, some ink swatching. I took this to New York with me, so I have some tea tags in here, and ink swatches, like currently inked stuff. And then I did stamps in here while I was in New York. I think I did this on the plane to New York, or maybe on the way home. I can't remember. I was planning my planner system for 2025. Here's a collage that I did last year. I think I did it around this date. So I try to put like the junk journal spread or the collage near the actual date that I did it, even if it's, you know, the next year. But I did do these last year. This one I remember I did right after getting coffee with my best friend, and she told me she was moving. So this one has some bittersweet memories, but she had given me some gifts and I cut up the packaging from that and put it on here. And yeah, I really, really, really like this spread a lot. Here's a currently inked, I guess. Yeah, here's the actual currently inked from that video specifically. Yeah, so it's kind of just a creative place for me to collage and do art and kind of experiment with whatever I feel like. The back of it is just a mess of me trying different media or trying to get a fountain pen to work, things like that. Yeah, the papers in here, the blotting papers in here are pretty messy. So yeah, this one's just fun. I really like the cover. I've been cutting up like magazines and stuff that I get in the mail. Like Ulta has really good colors and lots of good letters in their magazines, so I cut those up. This is a Radia sticker. It says, "I'm baby." It's so cute. I got that in New York as well. And then this is a Yoseka sticker that I got in an order from them. But yeah, pretty fun, just like little crafty journal. There's not too much in here yet, and those collages like make this pretty chunky. So I'm not sure how long this can be a junk journal, but yeah, there's obviously a lot of pages in here. So yeah, if you guys are interested in seeing more of this junk journal, definitely let me know. I think it could be fun to do like a junk journal with me video. But yeah, I'd also like in the future to make a bigger junk journal. This is pretty small, but it could be fun to play around with a bigger journal. Yeah, these are mostly all of the journals that I'm currently using. I say mostly because I have one other notebook that I use, and I'm not super sure how to talk about it yet. I'm probably gonna make a video specifically for it. It's this just regular Moleskine notebook, and what I've been doing in here is just kind of using it as a dumping ground. So I've written like book notes and quotes in here. I wrote down some stuff that I needed to do for a video I was editing, and then these are notes for today's video. And so it's kind of just a messy notebook for me to write down whatever I need to, whatever I feel like. In the past, I've called this a commonplace book, but I don't think that's what it really is. In its true nature, I don't think it's a commonplace book, but I've been calling it my brain on paper notebook recently, just because that's what it feels like. I do write a lot about like books that I'm reading in here, but if I just need to take notes, say from like a meeting or a video I'm editing, or I just need to write something down, I've got like little journaling bits in here. I've got lists of ideas, just whatever I need it to be is what it can be. I do think that it needs to be a smaller or like pocket-sized notebook to be more useful, because I do like to take this with me out of the house, because if I need to just write something down, this is the place that I can do it. And if that information needs to go into one of my other journals, I can do that after, right? I don't have to bring all of my journals with me. I can just bring this and write down what I need to write down just to get it on paper so that I can remember, and then I can sort it out after that. And yeah, this is just so helpful. I basically had a combo of this and my commonplace journal last year, I talked about that a bit in my pocket notebooks video, I think. I didn't really like that those were mixing so much because my commonplace stuff that I wanted to reference later was getting lost in all of the junk that I was writing in here. So yeah, that's kind of, I guess, like a brief idea of what's happening here. Maybe I'll make a whole video on this. I'm gonna, try some more things in here and experiment a little bit, and I will let you know. I might also switch to a smaller sized notebook, but I have to use one that I'm not precious with, because the idea is to kind of just dump everything into here that I need to. So yeah, that's kind of like the secret journal that I've got going on the side. That's pretty much everything I'm using right now this year. I will definitely keep you updated. This is sort of like my Q1 Techo Kaigi, just to show you how I'm using things right now. And I will definitely make an updated video once I feel like things have changed a little bit or I have some new things to share with you. I will do an updated video for sure. But in the meantime, if there's any journal that you want me to go more into depth with or make another video about, definitely let me know. Or if you have questions about certain things, how I'm using things, what I'm using, anything, just drop me a comment and I will get back to you. But yeah, thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, friends!